So welcome back. My name is Paul, and I make a lot of videos. I've been making one series about cosmic cycles, and this is going to be the 6th segment. And I've been talking about energy and fields and the cosmic, the galactic ecliptic and equator and the toroidal rotating fields, the cosmic lotus, and about basically spin. And I wanted to pause for a second here because there's a lot to take in, and where does that leave us? Because we're really trying to figure out some practical things, because, if we're not going to go live past 2012, why bother, But the question is, we're really into some cycles, and we're trying to figure out kind of where we're at. Now, there's a lot of things that can happen. See, one of the difficulties is because some people say, well, okay, we're going to get hit by like an asteroid, and then other people say it's going to be like a comet, and other people say, well, Nibiru's coming, and there's a whole solar system coming back, and that might happen. And then other people, well, we're going to cross this galactic equator, and then that can happen. And there's just a lot of different theories. And part of the problem is because there are a lot of possibilities. There really are a lot of different possibilities that could happen. Now, what do we know? We do know that the electric field around our planet, our planetary field, is changing. It's getting messed up. And part of the reason for that is because it's dependent on our sun. And the sun, for whatever reason, we don't know why. Let's just assume, for now we can't figure out exactly why, but it has 11-year cycles. And every once in a while, this sun just like opens its mouth and roars, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And, it can do stuff to our tools and our supplies, and it can mess up our electric grid. Plus, then you have the gravitational influences of possibly, like maybe Nibiru or some other system. Now, if we're circulating around out here, let's say, right, and there's going to be some imagery, I guess I'm going to try to get some imagery from NASA or from the internet regarding where our solar system is kind of floating along through here, and the materials are kind of floating around their billions a year cycle. Meanwhile, the sun's going up and down, varying, and it's doing its little spiral thing. And along with it, all the planets are kind of going back and forth and wavering back and forth like the petals of a lotus. And over these cosmic times, like there's a music beat playing, you might say. There's a rhythm. There's definitely a dance. You might call it whatever you want. Maybe you can't hear music, but there's a cosmic interplay of these varying sizes of bodies that are around the solar system that do affect us. It's like the big drum player, I mean, there's something going on some profound elemental level, and we're really just like the fleas on an elephant's back. We're just so tiny here. We have to kind of get our perspective here. We don't really kind of grasp the whole picture here. We're trying to get it with some of these diagrams. Now, we're floating back and forth, up and down. Okay, the sun is going like this, is turning around. There's electric fields. There's powerful burning hydrogen and helium just completely like bursting out. There's superfine light energy, different frequencies, speeding around through space. Now, because there are so many possibilities, we could be affected by all or several or none or several. Now, as far as getting light into our system, intellectual light and stimulating, as we were talking about here, that's definitely been happening. I mean, for whatever reason, the literal use of light and light frequencies and radio beams and so on has literally massively increased just since the early 1900s. We had those electricity, and Tesla came in. Tesla was an amazing guy. Everybody knows that by now, hopefully. And this guy, Tesla, could design a whole electric machine in his brain and just say, okay, I'm going to think about it for a while. So, oh, okay, I know how to do this, and here's what the calculations are, blah, 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 blah. This guy was amazing. And it's all based on principles. There's patterns here, And that's why we have cosmic cycles, because there are patterns. They may be very, very vast patterns. And because we are short-lived creatures, and I just say that we have the beautiful science of astronomy going back, let's say we go back all the way to the early Renaissance when we had telescopes and Kepler and Galileo and all these great people and Isaac Newton figuring all this stuff out. And wow, man, we're getting enlightened. We're figuring out the Earth has cosmic cycles, But that 300 years of like learning. And a lot of people don't even pay attention to what we do know. We just pick up some of these astrophysics books and like every day there's some new discovery. It's like unbelievable. So anybody who's like, they just completely, there's new materials they're discovering. Now, metaphysicians and ancient teachings talk about this kind of stuff for a really long time. It's saying basically you have the materials going from the gaseous, okay, like hydrogen, down all the way to the very heavy things, the very complicated materials. You have the materials like lead and iron and those kind of things. And you have the heavy things like uranium, which is just like this incredible material. And in between you have everything else. But then there's now monatomic atoms, atomic. I mean, then there's beyond radiation that comes out. There's this like radiation that doesn't have any material associated. It's gone beyond a material like uranium. There's no substance there anymore. It's out in the universe. There's light energy, and this light is a carrier of power information. The light is actually the carrier. I believe that we're going to figure out more things about light in particular, because now, for example, you take a laser beam and you impose on it a frequency such as comes out of a digital computer, and you make that laser pulse in a particular way, and you can get that laser to carry enormous amounts of information. That's literally how we do it these days. Now, what if in the universe, going through the galaxies, are these beams of superconducting cosmic light bands that when they hit something, they're like a string. They bang, when that beam, and there's many of these things, because there are cosmic lotus, there is this rotating toroidal thing going on here. There are these fields, and all of this is dynamic and active. That's the thing. We look at materials, we say, well, it looks pretty, even a stone, you look at it, it just sits there. But inside that stone, there's magic happening. And trying to understand what's really happening, how crystallization goes on, and what holds it all together, because in order for us to see something, to have a tangible touch, like, let's say, there has to be some stability in the material. Otherwise, poof, it's going to be gone. So how does energy stay in a material? How does it balance itself? And you get into these things, the new discoveries of superconducting materials that can hold light energy back and forth. These are just astounding, and they're affected by sound waves. So now we're getting into some really, really incredible things. I'm going to talk a little bit about David Hudson, the new discovery of this material. Look him up. Basically, cosmic alchemy, the superfine powder of the universe. Light, liquefied light, you might say. Completely harmonic, integrated light beams that we could intersect. Now, I'm going to let this series rest for a minute here. The cosmic cycles. There's a few other things I want to make, but we're going to pick up this trend here. And I keep reading more books, and I'm delighted to get correspondence from people. So, appreciate you watching.